Hello, everybody. My name's Jim, and this is the Song Tag. So, I've seen many booktubers that I'm subscribed to do this tag, so I felt a little bit of obligation to do it myself. And I really wanted to. I just wanted to make sure that I read the prompts and I actually had something to present. And as it turns out, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm not just going to give you one song for some of the prompts. I'm actually going to give you more than one because sometimes I like to break the rules, but also, the positive side, even if I don't do everything I'm supposed to do, maybe you guys could be introduced to new music that you're unfamiliar with and would like to listen to. Every single song I mention is going to be linked in the description below, so you can click them and listen to them yourself. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into my first rule break. Name a song that always makes you happy. So, this one kind of comes with a story, or at least the first song does. I was not allowed to purchase CDs or albums when I was little. So, before I got the album Survivor by Destiny's Child, Kelly, Michelle, and Beyonce were already split up. So I was kind of reaching back a little bit, but I listened to Kelly, I listened to Beyonce, and I was into them and wanted to kind of trace them back to their origins when they were a group, when they were a trio. So I got Survivor. I loved every single song on the album, but one of them that still makes me happy today is one that I don't think ever made it on the radio. It's called Happy Face. It's on that album, and it's so upbeat and cheerful that all of those days that I was feeling down because, as I mentioned in a previous video, school was not the best time of my life. So it was nice to have a cheery song to turn to perk me up and boost my mood a little bit better without feeling condescending, because I know that sometimes when you're feeling low, you don't necessarily want to hear a happy song, but having a song like that that's cheerful, that I could relate to no matter what my mood, was really cool. Another song that doesn't have as much of a story is the Lazy Song by Bruno Mars. I like listening to it just because most days I'd rather be lazy, so I feel like it's a good choice for this as well. Name a song that's a great fit for when you're in a pensive mood. So, when I'm concentrating, it really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm writing or if I'm reading, I would rather listen to something that doesn't have words, because in my mind, sometimes if I hear a word, then it either translates on the page or it translates in my fingers and I end up typing it. And that just causes confusion. I don't know why. It just makes my wires cross for some reason. So when I'm doing something like that, I listen to songs like Introvert by Cone Sound, or I dip into video game music like Mr. Handigoat by Thomas Dvorak. Probably mispronounced that last name. I tried my best, but these sorts of songs, especially those that I have picked up and I enjoy from video games, they're wordless. They help me concentrate a little bit more, and they don't distract my brain so that I'm thinking of other words as I'm trying to think of other words. But if I'm doing something like drawing or doing some design work, I listen to things like Trampoline by Shade. It has the same vibe, the same low register, the same consistent rhythm, but it also has lyrics to it. So it just depends on what I'm doing, but there are different types of songs that kind of have the same vibe or give me the same feeling that I listen to whenever I'm working, doing a hobby, or doing my chores. Name a song that changed your taste in music. So I have a negative and a positive. And this one kind of comes with a story too. So I loved country music because if you can't tell from my voice, I am a Southern American. I listen to country music all the time. It's what was on the radio whenever I would go off with friends or go to school. And I was a fan of Faith Hill, among other country singers like Brad Paisley, Shania Twain. I liked all of them. Around the time I was able to purchase albums for myself, Faith Hill's song Cry was on the radio, and I enjoyed that song. So I was like, okay, let me get the album that features this song. So I did listen to it, and I didn't like any of the songs on the CD except for Cry. Maybe I need to just go back and listen to the album, because there are still country songs that I like listening to today that are a lot older. So, I don't want to be a downer on Faith Hill. I still loved Cry, and I still enjoy a lot of her older songs. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just something that I could appreciate a little more as an adult. But for a song that changed my taste in a positive way, and I don't know where I heard this song, maybe it was Pandora, but it was The Red by Chevelle. It was harder, the lyrics were more raw and more real, and I listened to this song a little bit later, a little bit after Cry, so maybe my brain was able to soak this in a little bit better. The Red could be interpreted as an angry song, and it's one of those songs that gave me permission to be angry and permission to feel this sort of way. I wasn't going to do it in front of people. I wasn't going to, huff around. I was a good kid. I was a little goody two shoes. But when I went home and I just wanted to scream in a pillow, this was the kind of music that I would listen to. The Red is what got me into rock and metal and all those emo bands like My Chemical Romance and Blink-182. So yeah, it definitely changed my taste in music in a positive way. Name a recent song that you've just discovered and loved. So this one just popped into my brain. I think it's called Light Switch by Charlie Puth. It's relatively new. I don't really listen to new music. Light Switch is pretty new, and I kind of like Charlie Puth, and I thought it was really catchy and fun. So that's one. But another one that I listened to recently that's not a new song, but it's one that I just heard for the first time last year, is You Got to Run by Buffy Sainte-Marie. So if you don't know anything about Buffy Sainte-Marie, she is an activist. She is an indigenous Canadian American musician and singer, and she's pretty iconic. Like, she has a past. She's done some things. She's actually blacklisted by the FBI. She's a really cool person to look into, but she seems very down to earth. And this song in particular, for me, because, everybody interprets lyrics a different way, it's about activism and speaking up and not being afraid to hit the ground running when you believe in something strong enough. And I think that's such an important message to give to people, especially those who are kind of sitting on the sidelines but really feel passionately about something but maybe are too afraid to step out there and have their voices be heard. So it's a great song. I think you guys could listen to it. It's really catchy, and it has a cool beat. And yeah, that's one that I just heard for the first time last year. Name 3 bands or artists that you love. I like a lot of bands and artists, but the 3 that came to mind first are Poets of the Fall, Evanescence, and Lady Gaga. That last one might be a little bit different, but these 3, I feel like their music is expansive. I feel like their songs reach out to more than just one type of person. And I know that a lot of bands and artists are able to do that, but these 3 really hit me in different ways depending on which song I listen to and which mood I'm in at the time. And the lead singers of these groups, and Lady Gaga, she's a solo artist. Why am I saying that like nobody knows who Lady Gaga is? They are super down to earth. They are people that I would like to know. Now, here's a fun fact that not a lot of people know, but Amy Lee, the leader of Evanescence, actually created an album of children's songs for her child, which I think is super cool and super down to earth. This happened obviously after she became a mother, and she wanted her son Jack to listen to the songs that she as a mother would prefer him to hear. So I don't know if she created the album to be sold to the masses, or if she just created it exclusively for her child. But I thought that was a really cool fact, and I wanted to share it because that just makes her even cooler than I thought she was. So there's that little tidbit of information. Moving on to the next prompt. What instrument would you like to be able to play? So I was in the band when I was in high school. I was in the marching band and then subsequently the concert band in the winter and spring. And truth be told, I played the instrument that I wanted to play. I was a French horn player. It was awesome. It was my favorite instrument. It still is to this day. But I also played the trumpet. I played the piano. I played the keyboard, by default. I played some mallet instruments on occasion. I played the bells, the tubular bells. I don't really know what they're called, but they're big bells. They come with a mallet, and they are on this rolly platform that you haul around because they're just so massive. They're not like wind chimes, and they're not like the triangle. They're like, you have to really get into it when you play them, and they're really tall too. But there's one instrument that we had in the band room in the back that was in a really old case. It was falling apart, and I pulled it out, and it was an oboe, and I've always wanted to play an oboe. The reed was basically destroyed. It was cracked and everything, so I didn't, attempt to play it. But whenever I would go to band clinics and participate in a much larger band than the one that I was in school, every single section was filled, including the oboe section. And there was one song specifically, it's called October. It's by Eric Whitacre. I was able to play it 3 times during my high school career by going to these band clinics. It had a very prominent oboe part. There's an oboe in the solo, and I'm going to link you to that song in the beginning, and it's just the most beautiful song that I was ever given the opportunity to play, and it was the only song really that I was able to play multiple times. So I just felt so lucky, and the oboe is so cool, and I wish I would have been able to learn how to play that. It's not too late. I mean, I'm still here. I'm still kicking, but I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to actually play one. We'll see. Name a fiction book with music at the center of the narrative. So it's not really at the core of the narrative, but I am going to say Christine by Stephen King, because music is the way that Christine was able to communicate to the characters in the novel and in the movie. And I thought that was such a cool thing because it just made Christine that much creepier. I know that Christine isn't one of Stephen King's best books, but especially if you're able to hear it in the horror movie, one thing that really gives me the heebie-jeebies is when you hear happy or upbeat music and something bad is about to happen, because there's such a juxtaposition, there's such a contrast between the mood of the scene and the music that's playing that just increases the tension and makes me worry. Listening to Christine play, I guess there were 50 songs, listening to her play these in the car out loud as she is about to kill someone just ramped up the scene for me. It made it better. So I'm going to say Christine. Like I said, music wasn't the center of the narrative as the prompt said, but it was pretty close. It was Christine's only way of communication, and Stephen King is a horror writer, and that to me was pretty dang creepy. So yep, those are my prompts for the song tag. If you want to do this yourself, I tag you. I don't really feel the need to tag anybody specific because I wasn't specifically tagged and I felt like doing it anyway. So if you're watching this and you want to do it, by all means, give it a shot. I would like to see more of this pop up because music is something a little bit different from Booktube, and it's nice to hear what others' tastes are in other forms of media. So feel free to do it yourself. I've been Jim. You've been great. Happy reading and happy listening.